Hi everyone, thanks for being here for this video. I aimed to have this one out last weekend, but I had issues with the video editing software. It kind of crashed and wiped out my final edit, so I had to go right back to the start. But the horrors persist, and so do I. Also, I'm doing a book giveaway in this video, so keep watching and listening to find out more about that. On the first page of my journal, I have a small TBR list just to help me out in choosing my next book. So if I feel like I'm stuck, I've got somewhere to go. I need to tick a few off the TBR list today. I've finished Yellowface, The Housemaids, and the Villain series, and I have a few go-tos left if I get stuck for what I read next. I also added this little tip in here for recommendations from you all, so thank you always for those. I've read Furiously Happy from the recommendations, and I have a few more to turn to should I need, so thanks. First up, I need to update my book log. In March, I finished Vengeful, and I'll be doing a small reading review page for that one in this video. I ended up giving that one 4 stars. I'm also adding The Housemaid here. Unfortunately, no video footage of that review page setup made it through the editing meltdown, but we can check out the finished page together. I really enjoyed The Housemaid. I thought the narrator was perfect, giving the two kind of voices for Millie and Nina, and I really loved the suspense and twist that this one had to offer. And lastly, in March, I read Fahrenheit 451. This is going to be the main mental health chat for today, just around this book, how I came to it, its message, and how it probably relates to a lot of what's going on in our world right now. So if you're keen for that, please stick around. And if you're not, feel free to turn the audio off and just watch my setups for this video. The narrator here was Tim Robbins, and he might be familiar to you if you've seen The Shawshank Redemption. I'm pretty sure he played the main character in that one. Well, that's the first thing that comes to mind when I hear of Tim Robbins, and I'm sure he's in heaps of other movies and performing arts type spaces, but that's the one that comes to mind for me. What comes to mind for you when you think of Tim Robbins? Next, I'm updating my book tracker. I'm up to 8 books for March, and I've got another 2 underway currently that I'm hoping to finish in April. I'm going to try for a third, maybe a shorter story to finish in April as well. I hope I can stay on track and reach my goal of 30 books this year, and I would honestly really love to see my cover page all filled up. So if you've got any good, captivating, quick reads, let me know. I'm also updating my branching out tree. I'm adding a leaf to classics, and that's going to be for Fahrenheit 451. Turning the page, we have the Buzzword Reading Challenge update. I can add the Housemaid here as an occupation prompt, and I think I really need to focus on this when I choose my next few books to see if I can complete a few more prompts next month. Then for the A to Z challenge, I've already added Housemaid for H, and I'm not adding anything for F or R, for Ray Bradbury or Fahrenheit, as they're already gone. I also have a few that I can add to my bingo list. Here I've got a classic I've never read. Again, I could fill this with Fahrenheit 451, but I have already added that for a book I finished in a day. And I have 2 more leaves on my branching out tree for classics I've never read. So there will definitely be time to fulfill that prompt, maybe later in the year. I think I'm going to leave it for now. Yeah, because I have more opportunities later, so I'll keep that in mind when I'm picking my next couple of books, that I can add a few challenges with one book for a classic. But yeah, for now, a book I finished in one day was Fahrenheit 451. I'm also going to add a quote to my quote page, again from that same book. And this quote is, "Mr. Montag, you are looking at a coward. I saw the way things were going a long time back. I said nothing. I'm one of the innocents who could have spoken up and out when no one would listen to the guilty. I did not speak and thus became guilty myself. And when finally they set the structure to burn the books using the firemen, I grunted a few more times and subsided, for there were no others grunting or yelling with me by then, and now it's too late." That's by the character Faber, and I'm crediting that with Fahrenheit 451 by author Ray Bradbury. And lastly, for my book bracket, because it was a 5-star read, that's going to be Fahrenheit 451 that goes in there. But, you know, I'm yet to print those little book covers, so I'll fill those in when I get to it. Cool, now we're moving into the setups and review pages for those couple of books. And I'm gonna give the second half of this page to Vengeful under its brother Vicious. And I will say I enjoyed this book more than Vicious. I think when I went into Vicious, I didn't have a great grasp on the characters and it got a bit confusing for me. And I also didn't love the narrator that much, so it also took it a bit down for me. I don't know about you, but I kind of like, again, like this is what I liked with The Housemaid. It was the same narrator for both characters, well, not obviously, sometimes they're different. There was the same narrator for both characters in that book, but she was very good at having like different voices, different character tones to separate Millie and Nina, so it was very clear from whose perspective that part of the story was being told. And I really liked that, very helpful. But then again, in Vicious, I don't feel like it had that much difference in character voices to help like separate the perspectives. It was a bit of a struggle for me to like, yeah, track from which character we were hearing a story. Anyway, in Vengeful, the narrator was different, and I feel like they gave better separation of character voices in this book. That's, I guess, just about the narrator. But with the book itself, I felt like when I came to Vengeful, I knew more about the main characters a little bit better. There was Detective Stell, obviously Eli and Victor, and their sidekicks. But I also really loved the characters that were added to this story. I thought Marcella was an amazing villain / anti-hero. I feel like women written by women are just, they're really special to me, you know? I saw that there was this discourse that some readers online maybe didn't really understand her motivations or didn't think they were strong motivations. But to me, it felt really clear that Marcella was an ambitious woman who'd always been maybe like underestimated or underconsidered because of her attractiveness and beauty. And then she married this mob guy who had the potential to be powerful, but was kind of inept with that power and, dare I say, held back by his maleness. And Marcella was then kind of just relegated to this like beautiful object by her husband's side, when in fact she was capable of so much more. And in her husband's attempt to kill her, which is not spoilers, it happens right at the start of the story, she was kind of reborn again as a woman with agency and had like literal power to affect her will. So I thought she was written really well. Her EO power was really fun, being ruin. I love that for a woman, the power to disintegrate anything that she touches when she chooses to use that power. Very yummy. And unlike the men, the mob bosses in this city, I feel like she knew her vulnerabilities well enough to surround herself with powerful protection. The addition of June was neat. Again, another woman written quite well by a woman, and her ability to protect her identity and also redirect pain towards the person she is impersonating. I loved that. I feel like that was used really well in her own revenge plot and was super satisfying. So yeah, overall, I'm really glad I stuck with this series. I'm really happy with how the story unfolded and wrapped up with this book. 4 stars, thank you so much, V.E Schwab. And now moving on to The Housemaid. This is the spread that I did for it. I used blues to reflect the book cover, and I had these 2 character stickers in the top and bottom corners to represent those female leads of Millie in the blue jeans and the wife Nina down here. I read this book because it was recommended by a friend of mine who's read a few books in this series, and I feel like this was really helpful in my journey to discover my reading preferences. I think I definitely know now that I enjoy a psychological thriller. When I was younger, I enjoyed fantasies. Side note, I am super excited for Aragon to be made into a TV series with Christopher Paolini in that team as well. It was one of my favorite books growing up, and I reread that a couple of months back, the series, and I still love it. But anyway, my reading palette, I guess, has changed now that I'm older, and I really enjoy psychological thrillers more than fantasies. I really liked that this one kept me on my toes, and I really enjoyed the twist. But unlike the villain series, I don't think I'll read the Housemaid series back to back. I think I just might, want some time out of this universe. It's super intense, and I'll probably still aim to complete the series this year, but yeah, have some time in between books. Alright, and we're turning the page now onto the last book that I read for March, and that is Fahrenheit 451. I have lots to say about this, so let's get into it. My partner told me this, but did you know that paper burns at 451 degrees Fahrenheit? I learned that recently, yeah. I reached for this book after I saw that it was on a list of banned books. I saw that on the TikTok or Instagram reel somewhere, and I've saved it so I can reach for more books that are on that banned list. So naturally I was like, well, let me see what's so wrong with it. And I also want to add here that I'm prioritizing books that are going to be from banned lists, or they're going to be from authors who support Palestine, support ending genocide and ethnic cleansing. Reading is political, and our book choices don't exempt us from politics. So I just want to make that very clear in case it wasn't from this channel. Anyway, so Fahrenheit 451 is banned. And you know what's wrong with it if you haven't read it. It speaks very directly about the education and reading / AI crisis we're all currently living through. Yes, everyone, I know it may be a shock to hear, maybe it's not, but we are in the beginning stages of the dystopian world represented in this story. In this novel, books became banned because they aren't real life, and we should only be concerned with what we're told and what's quote unquote real. It started very insidiously and subtly with books simply being summarized to condense the story into a nice summary that was more accessible or digestible to a wider audience. And then those summaries were being summarized so that you didn't have to waste your time reading an entire book. You could just skim it for the cliff notes. Why is this problematic? Because summaries, they tell you what you should think, and it takes away the important part of coming to your own conclusion or having your own thoughts and feelings or takeaways from any kind of book or stories. Summaries make it so that you don't have to use your brain. You don't have to think critically. You don't have to have your own thought that is informed by your own experiences in your own life. AI summaries will tell you this is what you need to think about this particular story. What does that sound like? AI? Yeah, it sounds exactly like AI. Even to the point of AI summary suggestions showing up in all of my apps. No, I do not want a summary of this conversation. I want to engage with this conversation. This is a conversation that I'm having with my friends on Instagram or in the group chat, and I do not want AI to summarize this chat. I know there was also like a viral TikTok about a reader doing how I read 100 books in a week. And it's just AI summaries. Like that is actually brain dead behavior. And what happens after all the books in the world have been reduced to just a summary of a book? Well, that's where books become dangerous. And if people could get their hands on the original text, they might start thinking for themselves again. They might start having critical thought come back. They might start developing their own opinions, and their own opinions might be different to what is being shoved down your throat as opinions you should have, and they don't want that. So what happens? Books start being burned. Firemen in this story are turned from heroes who save burning things, buildings, villages, forest fires, into villains who burn knowledge and keep it away from you, the people. Fahrenheit 451 speaks directly to what is currently happening. It speaks to what the future looks like when this happens, and that is books being banned. Books are already being banned. This book was on the banned book list. You cannot make this stuff up. Anyway, I love reading and I love books. And in a world of AI summaries, I want you to have access and ownership of physical media before someone tries to take that access away from you. And yeah, I mean subscription services too. Subscriptions are not owning physical media. That's still being at the mercy of what those services deem appropriate for you to view and to control the narrative. I want you to take back some of that control. Keep all of your movies and TV series on a DVD or hard drive that you own. How you go about accessing that media is totally up to you though. I'm not saying that you could pirate it, but you'll have to find out what works best for you. The important message here is to own your physical media. I personally don't want to put more money into the hands of celebrities. We all know what's happening with the Epstein list and what's happening amongst the wealthy people of our world. They don't need more of my money so they can continue doing the horrid things that they're doing. They have enough money and they do not need more of mine. If anything, I would like to see them lose some of that money and lose access to the shit that they've been doing. I can support artists in other and more direct ways. Buy local, go and see a play, go to your farmer's market, keep the economy in your community strong. I believe in that message so much that today I'm doing a book giveaway. Yay! I'm excited to get to this part of the video. I'm giving away a physical copy of Fahrenheit 451. This is how it's going to work. To enter, you just have to be subscribed, comment 451 so that I know you want to enter this draw, and I'll announce the winner in next month's reading journal video. It won't be a secondhand copy if I can help it. I'm aiming to buy this from a bookstore close to the winner and have it delivered to you. To me, that feels more like supporting local because I'm not going to Amazon to just get this book for you. I want to keep your economy strong in your community. Amazon, Bezos, he has enough money, he doesn't need any more of mine. I really encourage everyone to read this. If you haven't already, or even if you have, now might be a good time to revisit this story and think for yourself about the parallels it has to real life happening right now. It has an important message. It's on the banned book list for a reason. The irony is so strong that it's hard to ignore. And I think if we can come together as a community and collectively hold on to this knowledge, resist what's being forced down our throats, make our own conclusions, maintain our critical thinking, it can help us see things more clearly and be more equipped in the way that the world is going today. Okay, so enough of the heavy, but thanks for sticking with me through that one. Finally, today I'm also setting up the cover page for part 2 this year. So this is covering April, May, and June reads. I was inspired by this sticker from Moni Illustrates. I used one of her stickers in... did I use a sticker? I might have used some of her cards in my daily bullet journal spread, but here I was inspired by this sticker, the stack of books, and this florally pink card that really went well with it. I've grabbed a couple of my own papers, this purple polka dot paper, and you might have seen this printed vellum floating around in other videos. I never found the right place to use it, but I think I knew I wanted to use it here. I struggled with this for a while. I'm not gonna lie. I am just, I don't know, it's kind of a mess. The idea is there, the execution is not. I had this idea that these patterns and textures would play really well together for this cover page. I kind of wanted to make it more of like a burst from the center and something more layered. Yeah, I put it down and I came back to it the next day. Quite the struggle. I think I'm getting somewhere closer now. Definitely more of like a circular layered burst from the middle of the page is working. And then I also had a brainwave with coffee staining some of these doily papers. You can't really see the white against the white background, But the idea came to me when I had my coffee this morning. So I got a couple of white doilies. I brewed up just some coffee grounds and hot water, no milk. And I just dunked these in there for a couple of seconds and left them out to dry, and this is what I was left with. I struggled a bit more for a bit longer, trying to see how this was going to work. And then I just thought, you know what? Stuff it. There's only so much fiddling I can do. It's time to just put stuff down on the page and go for broke. So I'm going to start layering the outside of these doilies with that beautiful pattern and texture as like the first layer, the outer layer of this bust. I grabbed some scrap vellum that I had so that it's kind of like release paper, kind of, just so I wouldn't get glue all over my desk or paper, especially with the gaps in these doilies. Looking back at it now, I really, really like how the coffee has left different stains and watermarks on these papers. They're all similar but unique, and that's really cute. I toot my own horn, why don't I? And then I'm grabbing this vellum now and I'm figuring out how to layer it. I kind of came to the conclusion that I wanted the pattern to show more than the spaces in between. So I'm just ripping the paper around where the pattern is and kind of discarding the blank space. It's probably not super visible from this perspective. Well, it kind of is once it dries a little, but it adds a little bit of something, you know, the kind of transparency, layer detail. Carefully rip, rip, rip. Also, forgive me if you can hear it in my voice. I have been really sick with like the flu or something more intense than the flu over the past couple of weeks, and I feel like my voice is still a little bit nasally, but you know, that adds to the spice of life. I will admit, I maybe kind of like ripped up this floral paper too soon before I really knew what I was doing. So now there's lots of like straight edges when ideally, now that this design is coming together, probably would have been better to have more curved edges. Oh well, you live and learn, I guess. I'm kind of just like making the curves out of these scrap pieces. And it works. It's fine. And yeah, again, lastly, oh, I'm just adding the scrap in here to fill a gap. It kind of works really well with like the layered look, so it doesn't look too obvious. Oh well. And then I'm adding these last pieces of layering, this really pretty purple polka dot paper. Say that 10 times fast. See, that looks really nice. But here I come to a bit of a crisis because I remember I have 2 more stickers from Moni Illustrates. And then I get into a little bit of an overthinking spiral where I'm like, let me just see what these all look like. Ooh, see, that green cup looks really cute. Yes, that is very nice. I like the contrast of the green. The purple moth. It's really pretty, but maybe not the vibe. And then the book stack. Obviously, the book stack makes more sense for the book journal. But let me just go back and forwards between the cup and the books forever. And it got to the point where I had to like take this whole book to my partner and get their opinion because I couldn't figure it out myself. I can't make a decision to save myself sometimes. What do you think looks best? I mean, like, again, I like the green cup and the contrast of the green with the purple. But yeah, I took it to my partner. They agreed. Book stack obviously is the winner. The green cup, she is pretty. We love her. It's gorgeous. It's just not the right vibe for right now. Okay, so staying with the book stack, struggling as always. I don't know. It was such a friggin' like struggle fest to like do this whole cover page, and then I couldn't get the sticker unstuck from the back. Oh my god. Theme of today was that it was a struggle, but we really got there in the end. Stunning, gorgeous, lovely, very nice, very textured, very pretty. It's not often that the vision comes to life for me, and this one wasn't super easy to get to. But we made it. And then all I need is a colour for the title for part 2. I'm not going to use this brown. It might go, but it looks a bit yucky on the vellum. So we won't be doing that. I don't know why that happens, but no thanks. And then my indecisive ass is gonna like and about adding this like doily piece to the bottom to put the title on. Yes, it looks cute. I think it's too much, so we're gonna maybe, should I add it? I don't know, it looks really nice. No, we're just gonna leave it. Okay, and we're writing part 2. We're not fluffing around with fancy calligraphy. We're just going in, we're doing it. Adding a little bit of depth to this title by deepening the bottom half, giving it a little bit of that gradient and texture that I love to do because it's easy, simple, and effective. And then we have part 2, everybody. Well done. Thank you. Go me. Go us. Go you for sticking through. And then I'm going to stay consistent with these month titles from Paper Monogatari. I used them for part 1. I know they're quite small, but you know, small but mighty. I know what this is. You know what this is. It doesn't need to be big and overpowering. It is enough. And there we have it. Yeah. I think I executed the vision really well. I'm really, really happy with this cover page. It's probably one of my favorite cover pages I've done in a while. I think the coffee stain doily really did something. Yeah. It wouldn't have looked the same without it, you know? Anyway, that's us all done. Thank you so much for sticking through this one with me. Again, to enter the book giveaway, comment 451 down below and I will add your name into the draw. I'll announce that in my reading journal for next month. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day or night wherever you are. Take gentle care out there. Bye!